The massive silver ship hung in Earth's sky like a second moon. For 3 days, people around the world had pointed at it, taken pictures, and wondered what it meant. News channels played the same shaky footage over and over. Scientists argued on television about whether it was real or fake. Military leaders held secret meetings behind closed doors. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the International Space Station, watching the alien vessel through reinforced glass. His hands were steady on the rail, but his heart beat fast. In his 20 years with the Earth Defense Force, he had trained for this moment. First contact with alien life. He just never thought it would happen on his watch. Sir, they're sending another signal, called Lieutenant Amy Price from the communication station. Her voice carried across the quiet station. Everyone had stopped their work to listen. Put it through the translator, Jake said. The new device had been built in just 2 days by the brightest minds on Earth. No one knew if it would work. The speakers crackled with static. Then a voice emerged. It sounded like wind chimes mixed with flowing water. Beautiful and strange. Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Zephyrian Collective. We come in peace and friendship. We wish to meet with your leaders and learn about your world. Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her computer screen. She had been Earth's top expert on possible alien life for 15 years. Now she was living her dream and her nightmare at the same time. The language patterns are incredible, she whispered to Jake. They're using mathematical concepts to build meaning. It's like music and math had a baby. Jake nodded but kept his eyes on the alien ship. Are they asking to come down? Yes, but they want to send just one representative first. They're being very careful. 3 hours later, a smaller craft descended from the mother ship. It moved without sound, flowing through the air like liquid metal. It landed in Central Park in New York City. The military had cleared the area, but thousands of people gathered behind the barriers to watch. The ship's door opened with no sound. What stepped out made everyone hold their breath. Ambassador Kethera stood 7 feet tall and seemed to be made of living crystal. Her body caught the sunlight and threw it back in rainbow patterns. She moved with grace, each step careful and considered. Her face was almost human but perfect, like a sculpture come to life. When she spoke, her voice carried clearly across the park without any amplifier. I am Kethera, of the Zephyrian Collective. I speak for 7 worlds and their people. We have traveled far to meet you. Jake stepped forward. He wore his best uniform and had practiced this moment 100 times. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Kissa. I am Captain Jake Morrison. We're honored by your visit. Dr. Lisa Carter walked beside him, carrying a tablet full of questions she wanted to ask. She had dreamed of this day since she was a child reading science books. Kethera looked around the park with wonder. Children played on swings nearby, their laughter carrying on the wind. An old man fed pigeons from a bench. A street musician played guitar under a tree. Your world is beautiful, she said, so full of life and joy. Over the next week, Kethera visited major cities around the world. Jake and Lisa traveled with her, serving as her guides and protectors. The alien ambassador seemed to love everything. She saw Dot in Paris. She stood for an hour watching artists paint by the river. Such creativity, she whispered, such passion in every brushstroke. In Rome, she walked through ancient ruins and marveled at the old stones. You preserve your history with such care. We can feel the love you have for those who came before. In Tokyo, she watched the sunrise from the top of a tall building while the city woke up below. The harmony between nature and progress is wonderful. You have found balance. But it was in a small town in Iowa that Kethera seemed most amazed. They arrived during the annual Harvest Festival. The whole town had gathered in the central square. Children ran between booths selling homemade food. Elderly people sat in circles, sharing stories. Young couples danced to live music. This is what we hoped to find, Kethera told Lisa as they watched the celebration. A people who value community and peace. Lisa smiled. We're not perfect, but most of us try to get along. Your species has such gentle hearts, Kethera said. In all our travels, we have rarely seen such natural kindness. Jake frowned slightly at this. He had seen other sides of humanity during his military service, but he stayed quiet. First contact was too important to complicate with difficult truths. That evening, Kethara's ship returned, bringing more members of the collective. They looked like living beings made from different materials. One seemed built from flowing water. Another appeared to be made of soft light. A third looked like walking stone with gems for eyes. These are the other ambassadors, Kethara explained. Representative Prime Velthin of the Water Worlds, Lightbearer Silanova of the Energy Systems, Stone Speaker Mordok of the Crystal Planets, each being spoke in their own way. Velthin's voice bubbled like a stream. Silanova communicated through colors that appeared in the air. Mordok spoke with deep rumbles that seemed to come from underground. The translation device worked better now. Learning from each conversation, Jake and Lisa could understand most of what the aliens said. "We have watched your world for some time," Velthin explained during their first formal meeting. "Your radio signals, your television broadcasts, your art, everything we saw spoke of a peaceful people. We observed your charity events," added Silanova, her words appearing as golden letters. "In the air, the way you helped those in need touched our hearts." Mordok's deep voice rumbled. "Your protests are so civilized. No violence, just people expressing their views with signs and songs. Very mature." Lisa exchanged a look with Jake. They had been showing the aliens the best of humanity, but not the whole picture. The aliens seemed to have missed the darker parts of human history. "We would like to invite Earth to join the Zephyrian Collective," Kethara announced. "Your artistic gifts and peaceful nature would add much to our alliance." "What does membership involve?" Jake asked. "Sharing knowledge, culture, and resources," Velthin explained. "We have been at peace for thousands of years across 7 star systems. No wars, no major conflicts. We solve all disputes through discussion and meditation." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. No wars for thousands of years. These aliens had no idea what humans were really capable of when pushed. "Our worlds have grown beautiful through cooperation," Mordok added. "We create art, explore space, and help each other grow. Violence is unknown to us." Dr. Carter leaned forward with interest. "How do you handle disagreements? What about resource conflicts or territorial disputes?" "We talk until we find solutions that work for everyone," Silanova replied, her words glowing soft blue. "Patience and understanding solve all problems." Jake bit his tongue. He thought about the military bases around the world, the weapons in storage, the training exercises he had led. These aliens saw humanity as gentle artists and philosophers. They had no clue about the warrior hiding inside every human heart. "We will need time to consider your generous offer," Lisa said diplomatically. "This is a big decision for our entire planet." "Of course," Kethara smiled, her crystal face somehow conveying warmth. "We understand. Take all the time you need. We are patient people." As the meeting ended and the aliens returned to their ship, Jake and Lisa walked back to their hotel in silence. Finally, Lisa spoke. "They have no idea, do they?" Jake shook his head. "None at all. They think we're peaceful hippies who paint pictures and sing songs. Should we tell them the truth?" Jake looked up at the alien ship glowing in the night sky. "I don't know, but they're going to find out eventually. The question is, how?" 3 weeks had passed since the aliens first arrived. The Zephyrian ship now orbited Earth like a friendly neighbor. Every day brought new cultural exchanges. Human musicians played concerts for the alien visitors. Artists from around the world sent their best paintings to the ship. The aliens shared their own art in return, creating beautiful light shows and crystal sculptures that seemed to sing. Captain Jake Morrison had moved his temporary office to the ship's human section. Dr. Lisa Carter spent most of her time there, too, documenting everything she learned about alien culture. The ship itself amazed them both. It was bigger inside than outside, with rooms that changed size based on need. Gardens grew in impossible places, and water flowed upward in gentle streams. "The humans have such wonderful creativity," Kethara told her fellow ambassadors during one of their daily meetings. "Every song tells a story. Every painting shows deep feeling. They put so much emotion into everything they make." Velthin agreed, his watery form rippling with pleasure. "Their children's drawings are particularly touching. Such innocent joy in simple pictures. I love their poetry," added Silanova, her words glowing warm yellow. The way they use language to paint pictures in the mind. Very impressive for such a young species. Mordoc's rocky voice rumbled with approval. Their buildings show great harmony with nature. They clearly respect their environment. Dr. Ben Adams walked into the meeting room carrying a stack of books and data tablets. He was Earth's leading historian, chosen to help the aliens understand human culture. His gray hair and gentle manner made him look like everyone's favorite grandfather. "Good morning, Ambassador Kethera," he said, setting his materials on the crystal table. "I brought some examples of human literature you requested." "Wonderful." Kethera's face lit up. "We are eager to learn more about your artistic development." Ben opened one of the books, showing pages filled with photographs of ancient art. "This covers human creativity, from cave paintings to modern sculptures. But I should mention that many of our greatest works came from times of great challenge." "Challenge, Velthin?" asked his form, shifting with curiosity. "Yes, periods when humans faced difficult situations. War, natural disasters, social change. These struggles often inspired our most powerful art and music." The aliens looked confused. Silanova's words flickered uncertain colors. "War, we do not understand this term." Ben paused, realizing he had stepped into dangerous territory. He looked around the room at the peaceful alien beings. "Well, war is when groups of humans fight each other, usually over land, resources, or different beliefs. Fights." Mordoc's deep voice carried confusion. "You mean physical disagreement? But surely not serious fighting." "Actually, yes. Sometimes very serious fighting. Humans have had many wars throughout history. Some were quite large, involving millions of people." The silence in the room grew heavy. The aliens stared at Ben with expressions he could not read. Kethera spoke slowly. "Dr. Adams, are you saying that humans engage in organized violence against each other?" Ben felt sweat on his forehead. "Yes, but it's not as bad as it sounds. Wars also led to great advances in medicine, technology, and art, and most humans today live in peace. We need to understand this better," Velton said, his watery form growing darker. "Can you show us examples of these wars?" Ben looked to the door, hoping Jake or Lisa would walk in and save him. "No luck. I suppose I could show you some historical documentaries. They would explain things better than I can with words." "Documentaries?" asked Silanova. "Moving pictures that tell true stories, like watching history happen." The aliens spoke to each other in their own languages for several minutes. Finally, Kethera turned back to Ben. "We would like to see one of these documentaries about human wars to better understand your culture." Ben's mouth went dry. "Are you sure? They might be difficult to watch. War is not pretty. We must learn about all aspects of human nature if we are to be true friends," Mordoc rumbled. "Please, show us." Ben nodded slowly. "I'll need to get permission from Captain Morrison and Dr. Carter. This is a big decision." 2 hours later, Jake and Lisa sat in Ben's temporary office aboard the ship. Through the window, Earth turned slowly below them, looking peaceful and beautiful. "They want to see a war documentary," Lisa asked. "Are you sure that's wise?" Asked directly, Ben replied. "I couldn't avoid the subject without lying." Jake rubbed his forehead. "Which documentary were you thinking of showing them?" "I was considering the war that changed everything. It covers World War II from beginning to end." "Very well made. Shows both the human cost and the historical importance." "World War II," Lisa repeated. 60 million dead. "The Holocaust? Atomic bombs?" "Ben, that might break their minds." "They need to know," Ben said firmly. "These beings are offering us membership in their peaceful collective. They should understand what they're getting into." Jake stood and walked to the window. The alien ship's corridors buzzed with activity below. Humans and aliens worked together on translation projects and art exchanges. Everyone seemed happy and friendly. "If we show them the truth about human warfare, they might withdraw their offer," Jake said. "Earth could lose the biggest opportunity in our history. Or they might gain respect for what we've overcome," Ben countered. "Humans are not evil because we've had wars. We're survivors. We learn from our mistakes." Lisa joined Jake at the window. What do you think the aliens will do when they see footage of D-Day or Hiroshima? These beings have lived in peace for thousands of years. They might not understand why humans fight. That's exactly why they need to see it, Ben insisted. Real friendship requires honesty. If they only love the gentle parts of humanity, they don't really know us at all. Jake made his decision. All right, but we do this carefully. We prepare them first. We explain the context. And we have medical staff ready in case any of them can't handle it. The next morning, the main conference room aboard the Zephyrian ship had been converted into a theater. Soft lighting dimmed to darkness. Comfortable seating arranged for both humans and aliens. Dr. Carter stood beside a large display screen while the alien ambassadors took their places. Before we begin, Lisa said, I want to prepare you for what you're about to see. This documentary covers one of the largest conflicts in human history. It happened about 400 years ago. Many people died. The images might be disturbing. We understand, Cathara replied. We are prepared to learn difficult truths. Ben stepped forward with a remote control. This documentary is called The War That Changed Everything. It tells the story of World War II, which lasted 6 years and involved most of the countries on Earth. 6 years. Velthin S-form rippled with shock. A disagreement lasted 6 years. This wasn't just a disagreement, Jake said quietly. This was total war. Entire nations fighting for survival. The lights dimmed completely. The screen flickered to life. Peaceful music played over images of Earth from space, then slowly zoomed in on Europe in the 1930s. The narrator's calm voice began to speak. In 1939, the world stood on the edge of the greatest conflict in human history. The aliens leaned forward with interest. The documentary looked like any other educational program at first. Maps showing different countries, political leaders giving speeches, people going about their daily lives. Then the music changed. The narrator's voice grew serious. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. World War II had begun. The screen filled with images of marching soldiers, tanks rolling across fields, airplanes flying in formation. The aliens watched with growing confusion. Are those military forces? Silanova asked, her words flickering uncertain orange. Yes, Ben replied. Armies, organized groups of soldiers trained for fighting. So many, whispered Murdoch. Thousands of them. The documentary continued. Maps showed the rapid German advance across Europe. Countries fell one after another. The narrator explained military strategies and political decisions that led to greater conflict. Cathara's crystal form began to dim as she processed what she was seeing. Dr. Adams, how many humans were involved in this conflict? Over 100 million served as soldiers, Ben answered quietly. Many more were affected as civilians. The aliens sat in stunned silence as the true scale of human warfare began to dawn on them. The documentary was just getting started. The documentary had been playing for 20 minutes so far. The aliens had watched with growing confusion as maps showed armies moving across Europe. They saw footage of soldiers marching and tanks rolling through cities. But nothing had prepared them for what came next. The narrator's voice grew darker. On September 7, 1940, Germany began the Blitz. For 57 straight nights, German bombers attacked London. The screen filled with images that made the aliens gasp. Planes filled the sky like angry insects. Bombs fell like deadly rain. Buildings exploded in massive balls of fire. The camera showed streets filled with rubble and broken glass. Cathara's crystal body began to shake. Those are civilians, she whispered. Those are families running for safety. Yes, Dr. Carter said softly. War affects everyone, not just soldiers. Velthin's watery form turned almost black. The flying machines are dropping explosives on purpose on homes where people live. Strategic bombing, Captain Morrison explained, his voice tight. Both sides used it. The goal was to break the enemy's will to fight. The documentary showed the London underground tunnels packed with people seeking shelter. Children slept on subway platforms while bombs fell above. Families huddled together, singing songs to stay brave. But look, Ben Adams pointed out, see how they help each other, how they keep their spirits up. This is also part of human nature. Silanova S-words flickered confused colors. They sing, while their city burns, humans don't give up easily, Jake said. The harder things get, the stronger we become. The documentary moved to the Pacific. Pearl Harbor appeared on the screen. The aliens watched Japanese planes attack the American naval base. Ships exploded and sank. Sailors jumped into burning water. Mordok's stone face showed deep confusion. Why would one group of humans attack another without warning? Different countries had different goals, Lisa explained. Japan wanted to control the Pacific Ocean. America stood in their way, so they tried to destroy each other, Kethera asked. Yes, the documentary showed the aftermath of Pearl Harbor. Damaged ships, wounded sailors, and American leaders declaring war on Japan. Within days, millions more soldiers were being trained for battle. How fast your species mobilizes, Velthan observed, his dark form rippling. From peace to war in just days. When threatened, humans respond quickly, Jake said. We protect what matters to us. The screen showed American factories being converted. For war production, car companies started making tanks. Clothing factories made uniforms. Women who had never worked outside the home became welders and mechanics. Your entire civilization changed overnight, Silanova said, her words glowing. Dim red, everyone became part of the fighting. That's total war, Ben explained. Every person, every resource, everything focused on victory. The aliens watched footage of the Eastern Front, where German and Soviet armies fought across 1,000 miles. Tanks battled in frozen fields. Soldiers fought in ruined cities. The numbers were staggering, millions of troops on both sides. Stalingrad, the narrator said. The battle that changed the war. For 5 months, 2 armies fought for control of a single city. The camera showed streets turned to rubble. Soldiers fighting from building to building, room to room. Boat everywhere. The aliens could barely look at the screen. 5 months. Mordok's voice was barely a whisper. They fought in one city for 5 months. 900,000 German soldiers died or were captured, Ben said quietly. Over 1 million Soviet soldiers and civilians died defending the city. Kethera stood up suddenly. Her crystal form was now so dim it was almost transparent. We need to stop this. This is too much. Ambassador, please, Lisa said gently. You need to understand. This is part of human history. We can't ignore it. But the scale, Velthan said, his form shifting rapidly between colors. The destruction. How can any species survive such violence? We not only survived, Jake said firmly, we learned from it. We grew stronger. The documentary continued with the aliens watched in shocked silence as thousands of ships approached the beaches of Normandy. Landing craft opened their doors. Soldiers ran into machine gun fire. Many died before they reached the sand. They knew they might die, Silanova observed, her words flickering between orange and blue. Yet they kept coming. They fought for freedom, Ben explained. For the right of people to choose their own governments, to live without fear. The camera showed medics crawling across the beach to help wounded soldiers, engineers blowing up obstacles under enemy fire, commanders making life and death decisions in seconds. Even in war, they help each other, Kethera said, returning. To her seat, they risk their lives to save their friends. That's what makes us human, Lisa said. We fight hard, but we also care deeply. The documentary moved to the Pacific Island battles. The aliens watched American and Japanese soldiers fighting on beaches and in jungles. Every island cost thousands of lives. But slowly, steadily, the Americans moved closer to Japan. Why don't they surrender, Velthan asked. Why keep fighting when defeat is certain? Pride, honor, duty to their country, Jake answered. Some things matter more than life itself to humans. Then came the footage the humans had been dreading. The Gay taking off from its base. The atomic bomb falling toward Hiroshima. The flash of light brighter than the sun. The aliens recoiled as if struck. The mushroom cloud rose into the sky like a deadly flower. The camera showed the city afterward. Nothing but ash and twisted metal for miles. What was that? More demanded, his voice shaking the room. What kind of weapon? An atomic bomb, Ben said, his voice heavy. Humans split the atom itself, released the power of the stars. One bomb did all that. Kethera stared at the screen in horror. One bomb destroyed an entire city, Lisa confirmed. 80,000 people died instantly. More died later from radiation sickness. Velethan's form collapsed into a puddle on the floor. Silanova S light dimmed to almost nothing. Mordok S stone body cracked audibly. And you used it twice, Kethera said, reading the text on the screen. Yes, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Ben nodded. It ended the war, but at a terrible cost. The documentary showed the Japanese surrender ceremony aboard the USS Missouri. General MacArthur speaking about peace and reconciliation. Former enemies shaking hands. After all that destruction, they made peace. Silanova asked weakly. Humans are good at making peace after war, Jake said. We help our former enemies rebuild. We become friends with those we once fought. The documentary ended with footage of the United Nations being formed. Representatives from all nations working together to prevent future wars. The camera showed children playing in rebuilt cities, families reunited after years apart, but the aliens barely noticed the hopeful ending. They sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had witnessed. How long ago did this happen? Kethera finally asked. About 400 years, Ben replied. But humans have fought many wars since then. Smaller ones, but wars nonetheless. And before this great war, Velethan asked, slowly reforming his watery shape. Hundreds of wars throughout history. This was just the largest. Mordok S cracked form made grinding sounds as he tried to speak. Your species has been fighting each other for thousands of years. Yes, Lisa admitted, but also creating art, building cities, raising families, and reaching for the stars. War is only one part of who we are. The aliens looked at each other with expressions of shock and confusion. Their peaceful worldview had been shattered in 2 hours. We need time to think, Kethera said quietly, to discuss what we have learned. Of course, Ben said. But remember, the humans who fought that war also wrote beautiful music, painted amazing pictures, and loved their families. We are complex beings. As the aliens filed out of the conference room, their movements slow and uncertain, the humans remained behind. They looked at each other in the dim light, wondering if they had just destroyed humanity's chance to join the galactic community. Think they'll still want us as members? Jake asked quietly. Lisa shook her head. I honestly don't know. We might have just scared them away forever. Ben closed his laptop and gathered his materials. Or we might have shown them something they've never seen before. The question is whether they'll see it as strength or madness. Outside the conference room, the aliens huddled together, their forms dim and shaken. For the first time in their peaceful lives, they had glimpsed the true face of war. And they had no idea what to make of the species that could wage such terrible battles, yet still create such beautiful art. For 3 days, the alien ambassadors stayed in their private quarters. They spoke only to each other in their own languages. The humans waited anxiously, wondering if the friendship was over before it had truly begun. Dr. Rachel Martinez arrived. On the 4th day, she was Earth's top military psychologist, called in to help explain human nature to the confused aliens. Her job was to help soldiers deal with the stress of combat. But now she faced a different challenge. How do you explain war to beings who had never known violence? They're traumatized, she told Captain Morrison and Dr. Carter as they walked through the ship's corridors. Imagine if you had lived your whole life believing that violence was impossible, then suddenly saw footage of World War II. It would shatter your entire understanding of reality. But they need to understand, Jake said. If they're going to work with humanity, they have to know what we're capable of. Both the good and the bad, Lisa added. We can't have a real friendship based on lies. Rachel nodded. I agreed. But we need to approach this carefully. These beings are in shock. We need to help them process what they've learned. They found the aliens gathered in the ship's central garden. The beautiful space with its flowing water and singing crystals seemed dimmed. Even the plants looked sad. Kethera sat alone on a crystal bench, her normally bright form barely glowing. Ambassador, Rachel said gently, approaching with her hands visible and empty. I'm Dr. Rachel Martinez. I study human behavior, especially in times of conflict. May I speak with you? Kethera looked up with tired eyes. Dr. Martinez, we have been discussing what we learned. We do not understand your species. That's normal, Rachel said, sitting carefully on the bench. Humans often don't understand ourselves either. We're complicated beings. Velthan flowed closer, his watery form still darker than usual. How can the same species that creates beautiful music also create such terrible weapons? Because humans feel everything deeply, Rachel explained. We love intensely, which means we also hate intensely. We create passionately, which means we also destroy passionately. Strong emotions drive both our art and our wars. Silanova S words appeared dim and confused. But why fight at all? Why not talk like civilized beings? Sometimes talking isn't enough, Rachel said carefully. When someone threatens your family, your home, or your freedom, words may not stop them. Sometimes you have to fight to protect what you love. Mordek's cracked stone form shifted slightly. You fight because you care. Exactly. Humans don't. Fight because we're evil. We fight because we care so much about certain things that we'll risk everything to protect them. Dr. Ben Adams joined the group, carrying another data tablet. I brought some other documentaries, he said quietly. Different wars, different times, but also the stories of what came after Cathara's light flickered with fear. More violence, some, Ben admitted, but also healing, growth, progress. Each war taught us something important. Rachel took the tablet and selected a documentary about the American Civil War. This war was fought to end slavery. Americans fought other Americans to free people who were being treated as property. The aliens watched footage of Union and Confederate soldiers fighting in forests and fields. But this time, Rachel and Ben explained the context. They showed how the war led to freedom for millions of enslaved people, how it made America stronger and more united. They fought their own people to help others, Velthan asked, his form brightening slightly. Yes, many died to end a great injustice, Ben explained. Sometimes war is the only way to stop evil. They showed footage from the Vietnam War next. The aliens saw helicopter battles and jungle fighting, but they also saw the protests at home. Young Americans refusing to fight in a war they believed was wrong. Your people can say no to war, Silanova asked, her words glowing with interest. Of course, Lisa said. Humans debate whether wars are necessary. We don't fight just because our leaders tell us to. We think for ourselves. Rachel showed them documentaries about peacekeeping missions. Soldiers from many countries working together to stop violence and help refugees. Military doctors treating wounded civilians. Engineers building schools and hospitals in war zones. Your warriors also heal, Mordok asked, his stone form slowly mending its cracks. The best warriors are also protectors, Jake said. We train soldiers to fight, but also to help, to build peace, not just win battles. Dr. Carter pulled up medical records on her tablet. Every major war led to advances in medicine. We learned to treat wounds, cure diseases, and save lives because we had to help injured soldiers. War drives innovation, Ben added. Radar, computers, jet engines, satellite communications, all developed for military use first, then adapted for peaceful purposes. The aliens looked at each other with growing understanding. Rachel could see their confusion slowly changing to curiosity. Show us more, Cathara said. We need to understand this pattern. Over the next several hours, the humans showed documentary after documentary. Ancient battles that led to the rise of civilizations. Medieval wars that spread knowledge and culture. Modern conflicts that ended dictatorships and freed oppressed peoples. Each war taught us something, Rachel explained. Sometimes the lesson was about technology. Sometimes about medicine. Sometimes about right and wrong. But we always learned. And between wars, Velthan asked. Peace, Lisa said simply. Most of human history is actually peaceful. We build families, create art, explore science, and help each other grow. War is dramatic, but peace is normal. Ben showed them statistics on a large screen. In the past 100 years, the time between major wars has grown longer. Humans are getting better at solving problems without fighting. But you still have the capacity for war, Silanova observed. Yes, Jake said firmly. And that's important. When evil people threaten the innocent, good people must be ready to fight. Our ability to wage war protects our ability to live in peace. Mordoc's deep voice rumbled thoughtfully. You are saying that the threat of violence prevents violence. Sometimes, Rachel nodded. When bullies know their victims can fight back, they often choose not to attack at all. The aliens spent a long time discussing this concept among themselves. Finally, Kethera spoke for the group. We are beginning to understand. Your species developed in a different way than ours. Competition and conflict shaped your evolution, but this also gave you strengths we lack. What kind of strengths? Lisa asked. Innovation under pressure, Velthan said, his form brightening. We have been peaceful for so long that we rarely face real challenges. Our technology has barely advanced in 1,000 years. Passion, added Silanova, her words glowing warmer colors. Your art has such intensity because your emotions run so deep. Our music is pretty, but yours makes us feel things we never knew existed. Courage, Mordock contributed. Your soldiers run toward danger to protect others. We have lived so safely for so long that we have forgotten what true bravery looks like. Rachel smiled. You're starting to see the full picture. Humans aren't perfect. We make mistakes. We sometimes fight when we should talk, but we also accomplish incredible things when we're motivated by love and duty. Tell us about your space program, Kethera requested. How did you learn to travel between stars? Ben pulled up footage of rocket launches and space missions. Much of our space technology came from military research. The same rockets that could carry weapons to other continents were adapted to carry people to the moon. And now you explore peacefully, Velthan observed. Yes, we took the tools of war and turned them into tools of discovery. That's very human, taking something destructive and making it creative. Dr. Carter showed them images of the International Space Station. Former enemies now work together in space. Russian and American astronauts who once prepared for war now share meals and conduct experiments together. We compete, but we also cooperate, Jake added. Sometimes the same people who fight each other in one generation become friends in the next. The aliens looked at each other with what the humans now recognized as growing excitement. Your species has something we have lost, Kethera said slowly. Drive, passion, the willingness to take risks for great rewards. What do you mean? Rachel asked. We have been so focused on avoiding conflict that we stopped taking any risks at all. We became comfortable, safe, and stagnant. Silanova's words glowed bright gold. Our art became predictable. Our science stopped pushing boundaries. Our exploration became cautious and slow. We thought peace meant the absence of all struggle, Mordick admitted. But struggle is what makes you grow stronger. Ben leaned forward with interest. Are you saying that some conflict might be healthy? Not violent conflict, Velthan clarified, but competition. Challenge, the drive to overcome obstacles and achieve difficult goals. We have forgotten how to dream big dreams, Kethera said. Your species dreams of traveling to other galaxies, of understanding the universe, of becoming more than you are. We dream of maintaining what we have. Rachel nodded with understanding. Peace without purpose becomes stagnation. Humans need challenges to thrive. Take away all our problems, and we become bored and depressed. But give us a mountain to climb, a puzzle to solve, or a wrong to make right, Jake added, and we become unstoppable. The aliens sat quietly for a long moment, processing this new understanding. The Zephyrian Council met in emergency session aboard the mothership. Representatives from all 7 worlds attended through holographic projection. The Great Council chamber filled with beings of crystal, light, water, stone, metal, energy, and living gas. For the first time in thousands of years, their peaceful assembly buzzed with heated debate. Ambassador Cathara stood in the center of the chamber, her crystal form dim with exhaustion. For 6 hours, she had been explaining what they had learned about humanity. The reaction from the other worlds was not what she had expected. Absolutely not. declared Prime Minister Zexalar of the Gas Worlds, his form swirling with agitated colors. These humans are clearly dangerous. A species that can build weapons to destroy entire cities cannot be trusted. I agree, added Chancellor Rindara of the Metal Realms, her voice ringing like struck steel. They have been fighting wars for thousands of years. What happens when they bring that violence to our peaceful worlds? Velthin flowed forward to speak. With respect, honored counselors, you are missing the larger picture. These humans fight for noble reasons. They protect the innocent and free the oppressed. They also killed 60 million of their own kind in a single war. Zexalar shot back. How is that noble? High Speaker Multivi of the Energy Collective flickered with uncertain light. The human capacity for destruction is beyond anything we have encountered. Perhaps we should withdraw our invitation and observe them from a safe distance. Silanova S-words appeared in bright, defiant colors. You are all thinking like frightened children. Yes, humans can be dangerous, but they are also magnificent. Their courage, their passion, their refusal to surrender. These are qualities we have forgotten, qualities we abandoned for good reason. Rindara replied coldly. Conflict brings only pain and destruction. Mordok's deep voice rumbled through the chamber. Does it? Tell me, honored counselors, when did any of our worlds last achieve a major breakthrough in science? When did we last create art that moved souls to tears? When did we last reach for something beyond our grasp? The chamber fell silent. The question hung in the air like an uncomfortable truth. We have been at peace for 3,000 years, Mordok continued. And in those 3,000 years, what have we accomplished? Our technology has barely improved. Our art has become predictable. Our exploration of the galaxy has slowed to a crawl. We have achieved perfect safety by giving up all ambition. Peace is more valuable than ambition, declared Elder Fankara of the Crystal Dynasties, her ancient form glowing with wisdom. War brings nothing but suffering. Cathara stepped forward. Elder Fankara, with deepest respect, I must disagree. The humans showed us something we had not considered. They do not fight for the joy of fighting. They fight because they care so deeply about their values that they will die for them. And this is admirable, Zexala asked. Yes, Cathara replied firmly. When you care about nothing enough to fight for it, you end up caring about nothing at all. She gestured toward the holographic display, which showed images from Earth, children playing in parks, artists painting in studios, scientists working in laboratories, families sharing meals. Look at their daily lives, she said. Most humans never fight in wars, but they all benefit from the courage of those who do. Their freedom, their safety, their ability to create and explore, all protected by those willing to stand guard. Belt added his support. The humans have a saying. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. They understand that sometimes conflict is the only way to create positive change. But surely there are other ways, Multivi flickered. Discussion, negotiation, compromise. Tell that to the humans who were enslaved. Silanova S-words blazed angry red. Tell that to the victims of dictators. Sometimes evil people will not listen to reasonable words. Sometimes good people must use force to stop them. Mordok's stone form shifted with emphasis. We have been fortunate, honored counselors. For 3 millennia, we have faced no great threats, no terrible injustices, no existential challenges. But what happens when we do? What happens when something dangerous emerges from the dark between stars? Will our meditation and discussion stop it? The chamber erupted in debate. Some counselors argued for immediate withdrawal from Earth. Others called for limited contact with heavy restrictions. A few suggested studying humans from a distance like dangerous animals. Elder Fankara raised her hand for silence. As the oldest being in the collective, her words carried great weight. I have lived through the entire age of peace, she said slowly. I remember the wars that came before, though they were nothing like what humans have experienced. The chamber waited respectfully for her to continue. I have watched our civilization grow comfortable, safe, and predictable. I have seen our young people become restless with lives that hold no challenges, no great purposes. I have wondered if we traded too much for our peace. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Elder Fonkara was known as the greatest advocate for pacifism in their history. I do not suggest we return to violence, she continued. But perhaps we need to remember that peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of justice, freedom, and the opportunity to grow. If humans can teach us to pursue great goals again, perhaps their warrior spirit is exactly what we need. Zexalar swirled with confusion. You suggest we invite warriors into our peaceful realm. I suggest we invite teachers, Fonkara replied. Beings who can show us how to care deeply enough about something to fight for it. Beings who can remind us that some things are worth taking risks to achieve. Chancellor Rindara spoke thoughtfully. If we invite humans to join the collective, what role would they play? Surely not as warriors among peaceful peoples. Cathai had been preparing for this question. I propose that humans serve as our explorers, our innovators, our guardians. When we encounter the unknown, they can lead the way. When we face challenges that require bold action, they can show us how to respond. When threats emerge that require protection, they can stand as our shields. And what would we offer them in return? Asked Multivi. Wisdom, Velthin replied. We can teach them how to maintain peace once they achieve it, how to build societies that last for millennia, how to resolve conflicts without violence when possible. Silanova S words glowed with excitement. Imagine what we could accomplish together. Human passion guided by our patience. Human innovation supported by our resources. Human courage protecting our achievements. The debate continued for hours. Gradually, the initial fear and resistance began to fade. The counselors started to see the potential benefits of partnership with humanity. Finally, Elder Fonkara called for a vote, all in favor of not only maintaining our invitation to Earth, but offering them a leadership role in our exploration and defense initiatives. One by one, the votes were cast. The gas worlds voted yes, swayed by the argument about stagnation. The metal realms voted yes, recognizing the need for innovation. The energy collective voted yes, excited by human passion. All 7 worlds eventually agreed. It is decided, Fonkara announced. Humanity will be invited to join the Zephyrian Collective as our partners in growth, exploration, and protection. 2 days later, the human delegation gathered in the ship's main conference room. Captain Morrison, Dr. Carter, Dr. Adams, and Dr. Martinez sat across from the alien ambassadors. The mood was very different from their first meeting weeks ago. Captain Morrison, Kethera began, her crystal form blazing with renewed purpose. We have reached a decision about Earth's membership in the collective. Jake tensed, unsure what to expect after everything they had revealed about human nature. We would like to offer humanity not just membership, but a leadership position in our alliance, Kethera continued. We need your species to help us grow, to challenge us, to protect us, and to remind us what it means to care deeply about something. Lisa blinked in surprise. Leadership, but we're the newcomers. We're the violent ones. Velthin S, watery form, rippled with amusement. You are the ones with fire in your hearts. We have been cold for too long. What exactly are you asking us to do? Jake asked carefully. Lead our exploration efforts, Silanova replied, her words glowing gold. Your species excels at taking risks and pushing boundaries. We want you to guide us to new discoveries. Serve as our protectors, Mordok added. If threats emerge that require force to stop, we need beings who understand both the necessity and the cost of violence. Help us innovate, said Kethera. Your history shows that pressure creates progress. We need you to create the right kind of pressure. Not war, but challenge, competition, and the drive to achieve difficult goals. Dr. Adams leaned forward with interest. You want us to teach you how to struggle? We want you to teach us how to care, Velthin corrected. How to want something badly enough to work hard for it. How to value something enough to protect it. How to dream big enough that failure becomes motivating rather than discouraging. Rachel smiled. And we want to learn from you how to stay peaceful without becoming passive. How to build institutions that last. How to resolve conflicts before they become wars. A true partnership, Jake said. understanding dawning on his face. You bring wisdom and patience. We bring passion and courage. Together we create something new,